Hello and welcome to the Puzzles and Abstracts set of previews for AwSHUX 2021, in which Team Shut Up and Sit Down will be previewing and showing you how to play all kinds of exciting upcoming releases. But the important thing, listen to me. What you have to understand, these are not reviews. In fact, we haven't actually played these games that we're previewing. Rather, our team is previewing games on behalf of publishers who can't do it at conventions they would normally do it at due to a little thing called COVID. So, on with the show. First off, we're looking at Mazescape, published by Via. It comes in a couple of different editions at present, and Via, publisher of some very interesting boxes, and this is no exception. Mazescape, what you've got here, is a little box with a lovely magnetic seal that contains some rules, and it contains a weird little pencil with no lead in it. You can just draw on stuff all the time, nothing happens, it's great. And a whole spread of mazes, which you are gonna do, and you're gonna do it with your fingers and your brain, but also you're gonna do it using folding. Now, unusually for these preview videos, rather than explaining the rules of Mazescape, I'm actually just gonna do one. I'm gonna do level 3 of 7 from the middle of the pack. If you're wondering, by the way, what differentiates these two versions, Labyrinthos is about going around a labyrinth, and then Ariadne is also about going around a labyrinth. I've taken a peek at the mazes in both these editions. I don't think it matters a great deal which one you buy. Both are quite similar, but I guess if you like Minotaurs, pick this one up, because spoilers, there's a Minotaur. And you can get Labyrinthos if you like incredibly spooky sort of Lovecraftian hellscapes. So on that note, would you like to come over my shoulder and we can take a peek at me trying to solve this maze? Okay, just look how cute this is. Each maze is a little booklet, and you're going to start it by opening it up, and you're going to start on the compass rose where you're going to put your pencilless pencil, and you're trying to get to that inverted special sort of creepy triangle thing. So you can take the routes you expect you can take, but look, I can't do it. But what if I were to unfold this? Yeah, now we're off to the races, and by the races, I mean a maze, which is a kind of race. Oh, I do quite like mazes. I quite like mazes. I think I like mazes because I'm pretty bad at... Wait. Oh, yeah, now we're cooking with gas. Yeah, oh, hey, okay. Now we're away. So what you should know about this, and I'm going to try and do the maze as I talk about this, there are actually sub-objectives that you're going to try and do. You can try and collect things like treasure chests. You can... Oh gosh. This maze is really, really quite hard. Okay, look, I made it there. What if I go there? What if I go there? And then, what if I do that? Yeah. Oh, hang on. Wait, what did I... I've lost track. Can you see... Can you see how this works? My plan was to complete the maze by the end of the preview video. Don't actually think that's going to happen because this is quite difficult. But what I am going to show you is just how much harder these mazes get. So this is what a level 1 maze looks like, and even an idiot like me was able to solve this in a few minutes. You just saw me doing a level 3. This is a level 7. Oh yeah. This is guaranteed to keep even the most hardened maze master busy for a while. Okay, we've just swapped over to the Ariadne set here. This is the first level, and when I say they're easy, what I guess would be fairer to say is they're closer to a tutorial. Incidentally, you can see here that while this is telling you your main objective, get from the compass rose to the creepy triangle, we also ideally want to examine 5 pots like good architects and visit this creepy lady. These are secondary objectives you can do if you want to be a little more exhaustive. Now, so this is your level 1. And as you can see, it's sort of just a bit more zoomed in. There are slightly less lines. And as I said, this is something that, it's not that it's too easy, because I think it's really good that a set like this gives you something that you can actually achieve rather than out of the gate dumping you into a very, very difficult maze. But also, you know, as I said, if you are looking for difficult mazes, let's just jump to the final level of the same set, where you'll be having your showdown with the Minotaur. And I'm just to unfold this all the way. Oh yeah. Did I mention that some of these actually fold differently? So yeah. Let's get that nice and centered in the frame. This seems absolutely hellish, does it not? And your secret objectives for this one are to Ooh, look, gather the sword and helmet and shield before you go and attack the Minotaur. And also, you can have a look at some ancient Grecian braziers as well. Braziers, I always pronounce the thing that holds flames like the thing that holds breasts. That's just on me. That's not on Mazescape. That's not Mazescape's fault. Another innovative and very charming game from Via. I like this a bunch. I think this has got stocking stuffer written all over it for that maze lover in your life. Who doesn't have a maze lover in their life? Up next, we have a very funky and interesting box for you. This is Umbra Via, published by Pandasaurus and designed by Connor Wake. And it's a rather good-looking abstract game that is pretty fascinating from start to finish. So, to win this game, you have to be the player with the most of your pieces on control of completed paths. And when you complete a path and you have the most pieces on it, then you are going to earn the opportunity to collect soul flowers off of your color of tile. And when you've collected all the soul flowers from your color of tile and the tile itself, you have won the game. So you're going to have some questions in order. First off, what are you talking about with paths? How do I build paths? How do I win paths? Don't worry, I'm going to walk you through what turn order looks like. So in each round of Umbra Via, you're going to put out 4 tiles on this board up here. And you're going to reveal them, maintaining the orientation, because tiles in this game, when they're placed onto the board, have to keep the same orientation. What happens next, once you've revealed your 4 tiles, is an auction, and a pretty interesting auction. So each player will then reach into their bag and secretly behind their screen draw 3 flowers, which could be worth 1 point or 2 points if we're talking about bidding. The darker colours are worth less, but there's a catch which I'll get to. You are then going to assign these flowers behind your screen onto the tiles you want to bid on. And once everyone's assigned their 3 flowers, you are all going to reveal and put your flowers on those tiles. You're going to place your bids on the tiles. But that's not the end of the auction. That's actually only the halfway point. What's really interesting about the auctions in Umbra Via is that you're all going to reveal your bids, and then you're going to put those bids on the tiles. Then you're going to go again, drawing 3 more tiles, stars rather, from your bag, and placing them on the thing again, and revealing your bids again. So it's like a blind auction, but at the like halfway mark of the auction, you reveal everyone's bids. So I think that's really cool. But eventually you will have something like this. You will have 4 tiles with everyone's bids on. You're then going to, again, another interesting wrinkle, assign these first to last places with the tile that has the least bids on, so the least desirable tile, is actually going to be placed first. And then the most desirable tile gets placed last. So that sounds pretty nightmarish. Players then, you then determine who gets to place each tile. So in the case of this first tile, blue has the most bids, therefore blue will place the tile. Now, we're going to start our work placing paths here. So the first tile in the game has to go in these 4 central things, but the next tile, number 2 here, which can be placed by purple, so purple would pick it up, can be placed, or rather must be placed, anywhere adjacent to the existing tile spread. You do not have to continue the path like so. In fact, it's completely allowed in Umbra Via for you to instantly wall off a path, like so. And in fact, that's how paths are completed. When players have physically walled them off, that's when a path is completed, and that's when you can score it. And, you might have guessed here, the stars which you use to bid are in fact the area control pieces that you use to determine who has the control of a path. So let's imagine I put or purple rather, fuse these 2 tiles together. That means now purple has 3 points of control and blue has 3 points of control. Here's the other catch. Remember earlier I told you that the light shaded stars count double for bidding? They do, but the moment a tile is moved from the auction to the board, all of those light stars that helped you win it, or you tried to use to win it, are removed. So the light colored soul flowers, I'm mixing up my terms, flower and star, but I'm sure you get the idea. The light-coloured soul flowers count double for bidding, but do not help you control territory. And then the soul flowers are going to go back in a bag. When a route is completed, so let's imagine I did cheating is amazing. I'm going to cheat like that. So we've now walled off this 2 path in the middle. You see, you've got wine, and then it stops there with a wall there. We would now score it. Of course, there's some soulflowers on there, which is not allowed at all. Get out of here, soulflowers. So we've got a 2 long path, which is completed. Blue by far has the most flowers on it, which means blue controls it, which means because it is a 2 tile path, which blue has the most on, blue will receive 2 soul stars from their pile of soul stars. And when you've completely emptied your pile and taken the last tile, which is a bit harder, bit of an extra hurdle to finally win the game, that's it. That's Umbra Via over. The other thing is, if a path is long enough, there is second place and potentially even third place, because first place is going to receive soul flowers in I've got this. First place will receive a number of soul flowers equal to the length of the path, but if you divide that number of soul flowers in half rounded down, that's what second place gets. So, abstract games, you gotta love them. Once you've placed the 4 tiles on the board like that, then you're ready to go into another round, and you're going to mix up 4 more tiles and reveal them, and then players are gonna go straight back into another round of bidding. Now, there's interesting things here. I love weird economical wrinkles in games. But of course, the more of your flowers you put onto the board controlling stuff, the worse you're going to be at, well, the better you'll be at bidding because you'll have more soul flowers in your bag. But the harder it'll be for you to put any additional flowers onto the board. Likewise, the more that you do well and score completed paths and gather soul flowers, the more soul flowers you put in your bag, which means it's easier for you to win auctions, but again, harder for you to get on the board. It's foxy, this. I do find it really interesting. Also, we have 3 advanced tiles, which the manual recommends you play with once you're kind of familiar with the game. I find all of these pretty interesting as well. This is the 4-point tile, and when it's placed on the board, what you do, whoever wins the auction, is going to put it down and then be able to shunt all of those stars onto another nearby tile. This is the... Let me check. Yup. This is the void tile. And when you place it, all the stars on it, like let's imagine I'm placing it like this. Once you place it on the board, you then remove all the stars and leave them floating in the void. And whoever puts a tile on that space, all of those stars are going to go on top of it. By stars, I mean flowers. I really hope you're not being confused by me mixing up my stars and flowers. And then this is so simple and juicy. This is what's known as a Blokk tile. When it shows up in the auction, no one can bid on it, which means you're just going to have more intense auctioning for the remaining 3 tiles. I'm fascinated by this. I have absolutely no idea what it's like in play, but it's interesting enough and innovative enough that I'm really very, very keen to try it. Thanks, Pandasaurus. Thanks for making a nice, good-looking game. Best game with flowers in since Skull. Skull, that's what I think. That's what I think about Umbra Via. Let's see what the next game is. Bad news, everybody. There's been a murder. Calm down, though. It's only a fictional murder, and it's only taking place in this card game. This is Sherlock 13 that we are looking at, new from Arcane Wonders and designed by Hope S. Huang with art by the inimitable Vincent Dutray. This is a straight deduction game. We had fun looking at straight deduction game, The Quest for Planet X last year. This is one that's a little more interactive and a heck of a lot faster, a little bit simpler as well. So the way that this works is that you have a deck of 13 suspects. Now, because 2, 3, and 4 are all still divisible by 12, you're going to put 1 card in the middle, and then you're going to divide the rest of the deck evenly between all of the players, like so. So this is actually quite similar to the structure of Clue, or Cluedo, where there's a card in the middle you're trying to deduce, and everyone has unique information that only they know. At the start of the game, you're going to look at the 3 suspects that you know are innocent. You're going to note that on your sheet, and then the way that play works is, on your turn, you can either investigate or interrogate your opponents. If you investigate, and this works differently in a 2-player game, but in a multiplayer game, if you investigate, you're going to say, okay, I want to know who's holding, and then you say one of the symbols, like fists or skulls. Who's holding pipes? And then all of the players around you with the pipe symbol on one of their suspects are going to raise their hand. And you're going to note that down, who's holding pipes, on your little personal sheet. Alternatively, you can interrogate, which is where you pick one player and say, hey, you, how many pipes do you have? And then they have to tell you the exact number. And again, you'll write that down. And that's the game. You just go round and round with everybody asking questions, thinking very, very carefully about what questions to ask. And then when you think you've got a good bet, you can spend your turn, rather than investigating or interrogating, you can make an accusation. You can say, I think it's Moriarty or Sherlock or whatever. And then you will take a look. If you are correct, congratulations, you just won the game and all your friends now hate you. However, if you're wrong, you're gonna put it back. And it's actually even worse than Clue. In Clue, if you guess and you're wrong, you're eliminated from the game. In this, if you guess and you're wrong, you functionally become a board game component because you have lost, but you still need to be there to answer questions from your friends. That said, there is an advanced game of Sherlock 13 that I find truly chilling. The way that works is when you receive your cards, you're going to put them in an order and you're going to put one of your choice at the back. Now, when players ask you questions, you are going to ignore all of the information on the back card, but every time you are asked a question, you rotate the cards. So players are only getting slivers of your information and trying to remember in what order your cards are. So that's absolutely hellish. There is also a 2-player variant, which you'll remember me saying is a bit of a headache. When that happens, you have the murderer in the middle, but then you also always have one card to the left and right. So there are 3 cards face down in the middle, and the investigation action becomes a little bit different. The investigation action instead becomes you taking one of your cards and putting it face up, and then taking the card that was on the left or the right for yourself. Now, of course, revealing your information to your opponent is not going to be good unless you're pretty sure that they figured out this card anyway. So you're trying to think what they know, that you know that... Oh, never mind. These games are hard, but this is a cute one. I would happily give this a shot. It's a small box. It seems like an incredibly solid premise. It's from Arcane Wonders. I got a good feeling about this one. Let's see what the next game is.
Vivid is a game all about remembering and reliving cherished childhood memories. Throughout the game, you're going to be taking fragments of memory and forming them into patterns inside of your brain, creating threads, forming memories, and hopefully achieving your aspirations. Practically speaking, that means using these memory fragments to score criteria on these moment tiles, flipping them to get some points, as well as creating chains of those colours across your board to score in these little sockets around the edge here. It's an abstract tile-lay puzzly thing in a similar vein to games like Azul or Calico. Vivid is played over 3 rounds, and each round has 4 phases. And the first of those phases, the prepare phase, is really nice and straightforward. All you're going to do is lay out a number of moment tiles, depending on the number of players around the table, and then populate them with these fragments, also based on the number of players. And then you're ready to move on to phase number 2, the remember phase. In the remember phase, each player will take it in turns to scoop fragments off of these moment tiles to place on their board in little patterns. Now, there are a few restrictions about what you can do in this phase. When you're taking tiles, you can take 3, 2, or just 1. If you take 3, they all have to be different. If you take 2, then they have to be the same, and if you take 1, it can be whatever you want. As well as this, if you're the player that takes the last fragment off of a moment tile, then you take the tile too. And you can only take fragments from either end of the line. You can't dive straight into the middle. There's also an additional action that you take if you take just 1 tile. Normally, you will fill a hex with all the tiles you chose to take, but if you take just 1, you get to perform a rewire action, which lets you move your little tiles around the board, expelling them from one hex or sucking them all in to form a new pattern in another. Once all of the moment tiles and fragments are gone, we move on to the next phase, the reflect phase of the game, where players will take actions to rearrange the fragments on their board. The first thing we do in this phase is place these moment tiles into these sockets above the player board. These tiles change what actions are available to each player in this phase. You could be adding tiles, or splitting tiles, or combining, or swapping, or moving them around to get the perfect layout on your board. Each player will take any number of these actions that are available, and if they manage to score the criteria on these moment cards by having particular layouts, then they'll get to score them in the next phase. And you know, let's talk about scoring right now. The first thing you can score are these moment tiles. If you form the pattern, you get the points. Nice and simple. Once you've done those and stacked them in a neat little scored pile next to you, you'll score threads and core memories, which is the more complex part of Vivid's scoring. Threads are continuous lines of hexes that contain the same colour, and they terminate at these core memory points on the sides here. When you score a thread, you must connect 2 or more ends, these core memory slots, and you multiply the length of the thread by the number of slots connected. Here, I've connected 2 yellow memory slots with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hexes, meaning I will score a total of 10 points. You'll then socket one of the tiles used to score that thread into these core memory slots, and if you fill up all the slots, you'll get points. 1 point for a single slot, 4 for a double, and 18 if you get the triple. Once players have gone through all of these steps in turn, we will move the round marker on, and 3 rounds will trigger the end of the game, at which point players will also score their aspirations. These are tiles they get dealt at the start that will reward them for using a specific colour. Here, this one will give me 1 point for every yellow hex I have, 5 for every yellow moment I score, and 2 for each core memory slot I fill with yellow tiles. Once you've done all your scoring, that will be the end of Vivid, and the player with the most points wins. Now, taking some demo turns for this game, just to set up the boards and have a feel, this game is crunchy. There's lots of ways to score points that are quite easy and straightforward, but scoring optimal points every turn is going to be kind of tricky. So if you want something tactile, abstract, and with a charming little theme, then Floodgate Games has got you covered with Vivid.
Up next, we've got something rather different for you. This is, I think, the first board game I've played that comes with a charging cable. This is Kroma, published by Breaking Games. It's an early prototype. We've got a triangular board, and it's a little three-dimensional, and the reason for that is, are you ready? And I'll warn you, this looks amazing in real life and absolutely horrid on camera. It's illuminated. It's got a backlight so that all of these translucent acrylic pieces you're going to be placing on the board are going to have light shining through them so you can see the colour all the better. I'll get to why that's relevant in a second. However, tragically, I am going to turn this off just so you people at home can see what we're doing here. This is a game of colours for 2 to 3 players. And I've set up a 3-player game here. We've got someone who's orange, someone who's green, someone who's purple, and we have all of these wonderful pieces that are blue, red, and yellow. So those aren't the player colours, but this is a game of layering pieces on top. So, my wife constantly makes fun of me for this because I can't remember colours at all. If I place blue over this yellow and red, you can see we have made purple and green, which are the 2-player colours. And the game is not significantly more complicated than that. On your turn, let's imagine I'm purple. I draw a random piece from the bag, and I can place it anywhere I like on the board. Or if I can fit it entirely on top of another piece, creating a second layer, I can do that instead. There can be no third layer, so you're building 2 layers deep at maximum. And what you're trying to do is create strips of your colour. In a 3-player game, you're just trying to make as much of the board your colour as possible before the end of the game. In a 2-player game, it's a little trickier. In a 2-player game, you're trying to create the largest contiguous region of your colour. So it's an abstract strategy game, that's all well and good, but what I want to get across to you, even in a very short preview, is that this prototype, goodness knows what the finished version is going to be like, but this is just a tremendous amount of fun to play with. This acrylic sockets wonderfully, satisfyingly. Is that a word? I don't know. It feels great slipping it onto the board. It feels great having that acrylic on glass or acrylic on glass. Listen to that. I love board games that sound good. And then placing the acrylic on top, create a second layer and new colours is it's just absolutely delightful. What a charming thing to play with. And look, I can turn it on and off, and on and off, and on. Honestly, this looks really nice in real life, but we can't. It doesn't look good on camera because it's just beaming light into the camera. Cameras don't like that. Not many things like that. I don't like that. I don't like it when you beam lights into my face. Goodness, I've lost the plot. What is the next game?
Mandala Stones is a tranquil, easygoing, abstract game about taking these little tokens off this central board and using them to form towers that will score you points. It's a very simple game with only 2 core actions, pick or score. Pick is what you'll be doing most of the time during the game, so I'll explain that first. If you take the pick action, you choose one of these artists to influence, picking up their wooden token and placing it on one of the spaces between these stacks. So I might go here, for example. Then you will take any tokens on these stacks matching the symbol on top of the artist, the pattern on top of the artist. So this one will take this sort of swirly pattern. However, you will only take tokens that are not also next to another artist. Those count as blocked. So this artist here will be able to take this token and this token. However, the way you take these is interesting. You have to pick one and go clockwise around the circle. So this artist will take this token first, and then this one, forming a little stack of 2, which you will choose to place on one of these empty spots on your board. So I might go here, for example. So I've advanced the game a little bit here to show you what might happen when players start thinking about scoring, the second action that you can take. And scoring is interesting because you get given 2 options whenever you want to score. Option 1 is the safe option. You will take the top stone from each of your towers, placing them on this board and scoring a point for each one you place. That would give me 1, 2, 3 points. If you ever hit these spaces on the board, you get extra points for placing on there. So if I'd have placed a stone on here by placing 4 on my turn, I would have got an extra point. Nice and simple. And if you ever reach these hand spaces equal to the number of players, so here in a 2-player game, here in a 3, and here in a 4, that will trigger the end of the game. Players will take an equal number of turns, and then you'll count up who is the winner. That's option 1 for scoring, and is the simpler, more cowardly route. Option 2 is to score each individual tower on your board. When you choose this option, you'll look for towers that have the same colour of top stone. So these 2 blue towers I can score at the same time. And then they will score for the specific criteria listed underneath them. This tower, for example, is 2 blocks high, so that will score me 3 points when I place this token over here, bam, 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 according to these symbols at the bottom here. This other tower will score me for each colour of tower. So there's 3 different colours of tower, so I'll take that off and then score 1, 2, 3 points. And obviously you can see that there is huge combo potential here if you get to match all the top stones of all your different colours. Very interesting. And there's one over here that will score lower the higher it is. And this tower here will score for each different height of tower you have, including spaces with no blocks on them at all. So that is the basic gist of Mandala Stones, and at the end of the game you will also get extra points for fulfilling a secret objective that both players get given at the start, and that is it. Takes about half an hour to play and seats 2 to 4 players. Looks like a juicy little abstract and a simple one of placing these stones, moving these artists, and trying to get a bit zenned out, but maybe also quite stressed. And that is Mandala Stones.
Up next, me and my enormous Sports Direct mug are looking at Blokk, the game that dares you to be square. Now, unboxing this game was a real delight. Not seen anything quite like this. I think we've got some B-roll of me unboxing it now. But what we have here is a very flexible, puzzly, abstract game about, get out of here, Blokk box, about building a cube. So we have 2 possible stencils, we have 3 possible game modes, and 3 ways to play within that. You can build a small 4x4x4 cube, a larger 5x5x5 cube, which comes on this truly amazing Lazy Susan. You can play cooperative, you can play solo, you can play multiplayer, and then you've got 3 different difficulties. So either you can build your cube by taking whatever cubes you want, that's free play, and it's for cowards. You can play by rolling the dice, and then whatever color you get, that's, the kind of cube you're going to have to use. Or there is the hardest mode of all, using a deck of cards in order to decide exactly what cube you have to place next. Now, these beautiful things are just stencils for solo play or to put in the middle of the table. Players don't necessarily have to use them if you're playing multiplayer, but I shall, because I'm alone. And let's do the Lazy Susan by 5. Let's do the dice. Let's just go. Let's play some Blokk. Okay, well that's an obvious start, isn't it? We're gonna keep going. Oh God. Now I should. Oh, this is already hellish. But incredibly fun and tactile to play with. I should say that while constructing your block, you're going to lose points if it sort of discharges some blocks, and if it collapses entirely, then you have straight up lost the game. So we've got a bit of tension going on here. Let's do a crossfade and see how I'm getting on a bit later. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Quince, this looks absolutely amazing, but how are you going to fill those bits in the middle? I don't know. Let's find out. Green, can I? Oh no. Oh no. Hang on. Oh no. Wait. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, okay, that'll do. This is coming along an absolute treat, although I'm very concerned about this vertical column. I think I might have dug myself a grave here. I want to show you one more cool thing about Blokk, though, and that is, this is so amazing. Look at these little bags containing deeply, deeply special golden pieces. Now, you're going to want to play with these immediately. Obviously, you're going to want to take them out of their beautiful sachets and release them into the world to make it a bit more beautiful. But you can't do that. This is really cute. The manual actually says that these golden blocks are fun to play with, but can only be unlocked by first completing several challenges set by the manual, which is a very sweet touch. So that's Blokk, everybody. A game of playing exactly how you want and almost certainly getting absolutely infuriated with your friends when they take pieces that you may have someday wanted to use. Look at this beautiful cube I'm making. Let's take a look at what the next game is.
Rorschach is a game of taking ink blot tests and psychoanalyzing your friends. It seats between 4 and 10 players and takes about half an hour to play and is quite quick and simple, and I'll show you how it works. At the start of the game, you divide players into 2 teams, the control and test teams. The test team will then choose a player to become the test subject for that round, who will receive a little set of these markers, placing them in front of them. Then the round begins proper with dealing out these 1, 2, 3 word cards with these little symbols placed on top of them. So Moscow is this maze, Australia is the vase, and cocktail is this little head. Then you will deal a set of 4 of these ink blot cards to go in front of the players like so. The opposing team then gets to choose one of these cards to take out of the round, so they might pick this one and they put it in the bin. And then the test subject will make links between these words and these symbols by placing their chosen tokens face down. So they might put this one here, and this one here. Then the test team will get to try and understand, get inside their test subject's head by playing corresponding matching tokens to work out which one is which. For example, they might think that this looks a bit like a drink and put this head here to denote they think that this person has said this is a cocktail. The other team will then choose one of these tokens as well to make their guess. They might think that this looks more like Moscow, for example. Then the guess is revealed. The test subject flips over their token and we see what matches and points are scored. Now, if both teams get it right, then the card is taken and discarded to no effect. But as is the example here, if only one team gets it right, they take that card and they score it as a point in front of them. However, if the current team gets it wrong and the opposing team gets it right, not only does the opposing team get the point, but the current team cannot make another guess this round. You get a maximum of 2 in each round for a maximum of 2 points a round. And that is pretty much all of Rorschach. The game will end when a team has at least 4 points and 2 more than their opponent. So a little bit of grit in that scoring criteria there. And that is basically all of Rorschach. Of course, the joy of this game is watching people play these things and thinking, how on earth does that look like Australia? And getting inside people's heads in similar veins of games like Decrypto or Wavelength or Codenames. And that is Rorschach from Capstone and Deep Print. Takes about 30 minutes to play and seats between 4 and 10 players.